Welcome to the Mariners Virtual Baseball Bash and today's media session.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today for the final virtual media session of the Mariners Baseball Bash. As a reminder to our media, this call is once again being carried live on our social channels, and we want to thank everyone who has tuned in and participated in these calls throughout the Baseball Bash. Fans watching on social media today will again have the opportunity to submit their own questions to have them answered live during this event. Just write your question in the chat function and we will select a few to be read during this call. For media, we will still be using the raise hand feature. If you have a question, raise your hand and we will call on you. We are now joined by Mariners outfielder Mitch Haniger. So without further ado, let's take questions from Mitch. We'll start with Corey Brock.
Hey, Mitch. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm really curious. Going back a year ago, there was a photo on your Instagram account. I assume from after your second surgery, where you're kind of laying there and you are managing a smile somehow. But as you went through both of those procedures, where were you sort of at after the second one mentally? I don't know if there's a low point there, or maybe a few of them before you start that long climb out of the darkness toward, getting healthy again. But what was the first 2 months or so like last year for you?
I think the first one, every surgery sucks. So they're never fun and it's never something you want to go through. But I think I'm better for having gone through it. And I knew that, getting both procedures fixed, my adductor tears in my back, only is going to set me up for more success now, and I feel better than ever now. So that's kind of how I just choose to look at it. I think, injuries can derail your career, but at the same time, I think you can come back stronger from them if you put in the time and learn your body better and kind of understand, why those things happen. And I think I've had a good handle on things, and I've been excited to get back out there. And last year's been a long one, but I'm really happy with how things are going now. I'm just trying to look forward to the future.
Next question, Shannon Dreher.
Hey, Mitch. Meatloaf with Mitch, by the way, was my favorite thing in the virtual blast so far. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Can you catch us up? I mean, we saw you in spring training and then so much had to have happened. Can you tell us where you were, what you were able to do, when you were able to do it, and just kind of give us the rundown on how you got to healthy?
Yeah. So, last time I saw you guys was probably right before we've all scattered out of Arizona. And at that time, once I came back home, every rehab facility that I could go to was closed down for a while, and that kind of pushed things back a little bit further of where I was hoping to get back on the field. Heading into the back surgery, I was told that having 2 in 1, it was going to be a little longer than a typical discectomy. And my goal and my surgeon's kind of timeline was like, at least 6 months. So I was hoping to get back in some rehab games by late August and then make it back for September for the last month and finish strong. And once the coronavirus thing kind of happened, it really stalled my rehab for at least a month. And then finally I found a place that opened back up, and as soon as I started to go see a rehab guy I was working with in Los Gatos, started to really help, and then kind of things got back on track, and then just kind of ran out of time with the season, and decided that once I wasn't going to be able to play in minor league rehab games, and I felt like it was the right decision to kind of make sure everything is I felt like this whole process wasn't slow played at all, but make sure I do everything right and make sure that I'm strong and really confident before I do anything, and before I make any of my progressions baseball wise, and that's what we did, and it worked out really well.
Next question, Ryan Divish.
Mitch, how miserable is a 300-pound gator roll? Because it looks awful. And how did you get hooked up with Austin Einhorn? Because those videos are stuff that we've never seen before in terms of rehab or strength training or any of this stuff.
Yeah, they're more fun than miserable, I would say. I think the first couple times I tried I think it was a 200 pound or 250 pound was tough. And then I kind of figured it out, and then, got stronger and stronger and was able to get to the 300 pound one pretty quickly. But I got linked up through a local, one of my friends I've known since I was 8 years old. His name's Joey Wolf. I actually go to his gym as well and train there too. And he recommended me see Austin last year before I had my surgery. So I met him about a week before I went to Philly and found out I needed the adductor surgery. So after that, came back home and started working with the PT. But as soon as I was able to get back here when the season ended, we were in Seattle while you guys were playing, although just rehabbing somewhere else, and then came back down and been working with him ever since. It's been a really big help.
Everything he does seems a little bit different and seems to have a purpose. Like, how would you describe what he's taught you or what you've gotten from this?
I would say the first thing is learning more about my body and understanding movement better. And Austin has a really unique lens that he looks through, and he I think his philosophy, I'm not going to say it as good as he probably will, but there's certain things in our body that will devolve if our environment doesn't ask for them. Certain things where he's really big on climbing and swinging and hanging, because as we evolved, our shoulders were meant to hang, climb, and swing. And if your environment doesn't ask for those things, your shoulder might not be as strong as it could be if you were doing those. So those are some things I've incorporated this offseason that have been a big help. And just especially with the climbing, how much core strength it requires is nothing. I had no idea. And it's been fun to kind of mix those things in. And we do some things that are, for lack of better words, a little crazy, but definitely not unsafe by any means. And it's been fun.
Next question, Daniel Kramer.
Hey, Mitch. How did your visit with Jarrett DeHart go this offseason, and what did you guys kind of go over?
It went really well. I've always loved working with JD, and I've learned a lot from him swing mechanics wise. And I feel like we connect really well when working with each other on my swing, and it went really well. I think my swing has never felt this good in an off season before. I think a lot of that is because I've never moved this way before. And I think I get into better positions than I have been able to in the past. And I think my body's moving better than I ever have.
Yeah, kind of building off that, were you worried at all about where the swing might be, just kind of given everything you've been through? And you obviously touched on the confidence that you have with it moving forward.
No, it's kind of funny because when I knew there was something wrong after my little rehab stint with my back in high A, and then I came back up to Seattle and it felt okay. So I tried to go play in Tacoma for a couple games, and it never bugged me to swing. Swinging was never painful. It was more the running. So I wasn't too worried about swing wise, and I knew that I would have a full off season, and it's gone really well.
Next question, Tim Booth.
Hey, Mitch. Scott talked the other day about sort of slowing you or easing you into the start of spring training. Is that going to be tough for you when you've been away for so long, or has kind of this process, taught you some patience about sort of getting back into the full swing of baseball activity?
I mean, I definitely had to learn some patience going through a couple surgeries, but I think that's something we'll just have to talk about when I get to Arizona. And I haven't really given it too much thought, and this is the first I've heard of it. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Next, we have a question from one of our social platforms. Kelly?
Mitch, Tyler from YouTube asked, what was your biggest challenge during rehab?
I would say just being away from the game for so long, teammates, and not being able to play a game that you love, and just coming back. And I mean, it was a long process, and early on after surgery, you feel like you're never going to feel normal again and never going to get back to where you were. But with every surgery I've had, there's always been, when you put in time over and over and over, you'll get back there. And if you just believe that, you can it'll make you better from it. You become better from the surgeries, and tough times don't last, but tough people do. So.
Next question from Curtis Crabtree.
Hey, Mitch, well, when did you feel like you kind of broke through in the rehab and kind of got over the hurdle of everything, and you started to really kind of progress forward with how everything was coming along? And when did you start to feel like you were back to being you again?
I think it was a slow progress. There was just a slow, with the back thing, it takes a while, and that's what everyone kind of told me going into it is don't rush it, go slow. And but I would say once I got back to California and started working with Austin, and it started to feel at the beginning of the offseason, like early October, I felt 100%. And in August and September, I felt really good too. I was working with two guys in Seattle that were really helpful. And but I just think more time, more lifting, more strength training, more running, just it gets better and better. And I noticed around October and especially, even November and then December, I felt completely back to normal and I felt great.
Next question from Corey Brock.
Mitch, realizing you haven't been gone that long, at least in terms of playing, I think it was June of 19, but the team you'll return to in many ways will look a lot different than the one that you left. As you watched from afar last year, and I've certainly seen the progression of these young guys going through the rebuild, what are some of the things that excite you about rejoining this group in particular?
I mean, definitely the defense. That's something that stood out by watching the team on TV. Defense, energy, and yeah, I'm really excited. It's funny. It seems like every year show up to spring training, there's a big roster change and a bunch of new guys to meet. So at least I know a good amount this year coming back in, and we're looking forward to going after and trying to win a World Series. I think that's hopefully is every one of those guys' goal that shows up in our clubhouse.
Next question from Larry Stone.
Hey, Mitch. I'm just wondering, by opening day, it'll be over 600 days since you played your last major league game. Even feeling 100%, do you think it'll take some time to sort of get back in the groove, the feel of the rhythms of the game and everything like that, just not having played a real game for so long?
I don't foresee that being a big issue, especially with spring training, but I think a lot of rust can be eliminated through training hard and working out in the cage and making your training environment very challenging. And I think that's exactly what I've done all off season, and tried to make my work in the cage a lot more as realistic as it can be. Hitting off of a guy throwing batting practice in a machine is not quite like facing a live pitcher. But there's some things in spring training that I'll do a little differently this year that I haven't done in the past that I think will prepare me well.
Next, we'll go to Daniel Kramer.
Mitch, other than obviously health, do you have any specific goals for this season, whether they're tangible or intangible?
Yeah, win a World Series.
Next question from Ryan Divish.
As we saw you, you look so thin. How much weight do you think you lost, and have you gained it all back? And do you think you're stronger? And also, what was it like when you swung a bat for the first time post-surgery? Do you remember when it was?
Yeah. So typically in the off season, I'm right around 210 to 215. Right now I'm 214. Last year, as soon as I had the surgeries and can't work out, I lose a lot of muscle mass, and my weight went, I think I was down to 198 or 195 around the second surgery. And then it took me till about, I want to say June or July. I was able to start lifting pretty good around July. And then August, I was started to lift pretty hard. And yeah, I've been 215 for the last 4 or 5 months. And then strength-wise, I feel great strength. I feel like I'm moving better than I ever have before. And I feel like just as strong and stronger in most of the subtle places that my training has been a lot different. I've done the same main lifts I've always focused on from working out at Sparta Science, and I have a force plate that I test myself on, and I still use their main lifts to help get my numbers up. And I also have supplemented that with some of the more difficult, challenging things that I work with Austin on to really get my core strength strong. And I feel that I've noticed a huge difference with my hitting. My swing feels much better. I'm able to get more out of my body.
Do you remember when you swung a bat for the first time? Did you just go crazy, or do you?
No. I went on a strict tee regimen for a month. That was tough because I wanted to just jump right back into flips, but I know how important sticking on a plan is, coming off of surgery. So, that was fun. And I mean, I had, no idea what to expect because it had been so long, and I had, back surgery. But I was really happy and surprised with how good I felt. And it felt like my swing didn't take long to come back. I mean, I felt pretty good right away.
Was it December? Or what?
No, I think November 1st is when I started hitting. Maybe November 3rd, very first week of November.
Next question from Kieran O'Dwyer.
Hey, Mitch.
How's it going?
Good, thanks. I was just playing off of Corey's question earlier about your observation kind of from the sidelines on the team last year. I just want to get your observations, especially about what you saw with Kyle Lewis out there in the outfield and the prospect of working alongside him this year, and just kind of what impressed you about his approach to the game.
Yeah, I mean, what a fun player to watch. And I think we all knew that coming into last season. And in 19, he had such a good September, and, shows power at all fields and has really professional at bats. This is a tough out. And that's the thing that most impressed me. He didn't really look like a rookie, and he looked like a guy that's been there before. And, he carries a very good demeanor, and he's very confident. And I think it suits him really well. And I think it suits our team really well. And for a rookie to come in and, hit right in the middle of the order is a tough thing to do. And, he had a great year. He had a fantastic year, and looking forward to playing alongside him.
All right. Do we have any more questions for Mitch? All right. Thank you for joining us today, Mitch. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. That's all we have for this call, but don't forget to tune in later tonight for a special roundtable discussion at 7 p.m. with key members of the Mariners record-setting 2001 team. Mark McLemore, Jamie Moyer, and Arthur Rhodes will be participating on the call. We also have more events slated for tomorrow, and fans can visit mariners.com/baseballbash for more details. Thanks again for tuning in, and go M's.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to visit mariners.com/baseballbash for this week's full schedule.